Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. At the age of 23, Danielle Matthews was hit by a drunk driver and sustained a life-altering injury to her brain. The medical world said there was no hope of recovery and told her to accept this life as her new normal. Although her body was physically impaired, her spirit was strong and she refused to believe their diagnoses. Her mind was determined to recover, and she did. Through the power of what she refers to as mind control, she attracted the mindset, techniques, and exact quantum healing technologies needed to fully recover. She has since built an international business, authored an ebook called Mind Control, and shares her life-altering experience with countless people around the globe. Danielle and I connected on a very high vibrational level, and I doubt you can hear that in our conversation. With such similar experience in overcoming adversity and harnessing the power of our minds, we are both being the change we want to see in the world. Welcome, Danielle, to the Ethical Evolution.
Hey, Bindi, thanks for having me.
You are most welcome. Now, you're coming to us all the way from Florida. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Danielle. I work with the redox signaling technology, and it's crazy. My story started 10 years ago after I lost my health due to a car accident. I was hit by a drunk driver, and turns out things unfold in life for us, and it put me on a new track that's put me in a position now to help thousands of people globally with this technology and helping them regain their health too.
Wow. So if we back up the truck a little, can you
Sure.
Can you tell us exactly what happened? Take us back to that day when the accident happened.
Yeah, well, if you want to go back to the exact day, June 23rd, 2012, I'll never forget that day. It changed everything. And it's interesting. It's almost like New Year's for me now. Every time the 23rd comes around, I just always reflect on how fragile life is because we just never know, when our moment is going to be, that we won't be here anymore. And that morning I was in Baltimore City here in the US, it's in Maryland, and 7:00 in the morning, I was driving to go visit my parents. We were going to meet up to go to a wedding. And I saw this car. I was on a one-way, each way street, right? There's parallel park cars all around me. It's the city in the morning on a Saturday, no one's really out. And all of a sudden the car started to kind of come over the midline. And I remember thinking to myself, this happened in seconds, but I remember the thought process. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, they must be turning, because I was about to be turning too. And they didn't turn. And then I thought, well, maybe they're swerving around something, and I look in the lane and there's nothing in the lane. And then I look up, you would look at the driver, hey, what are you doing? And the guy was completely passed out, head slumped. And his car hit me head on, probably going around 50 miles an hour. I couldn't get out of the way. There was nowhere for me to go. And, I walked away from the accident that morning. Thankfully, my body was okay. A car is meant to take an impact head on. And so it protected me. It was total. The airbags went off and everything. But I felt really out of it. And the paramedics on the scene came and they said, I think you're just in shock. You've been through a lot this morning and it should wear off. And it didn't wear off. In the days and weeks that followed, I started to feel like I was going crazy because I couldn't concentrate for extended periods. I was extremely sensitive to noise, to light. It felt like somebody had a flashlight. They were kind of shining it right in my eye when I was just in daylight. And my personality changed. I was very blunt. I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. I always have been. But it was like the filter was gone. And I had migraines like you wouldn't believe. Like my head felt like I was going to explode. And finally, I got into my primary care doctor, who said, no, you've had brain trauma. We got testing done, and I went to a neurologist, and they said they classified it as a mild traumatic brain injury, which I've always thought is a bit of an oxymoron.
Nothing mild about that.
I was like, all right, well, I'm glad it's not moderate or severe. But I couldn't work. I mean, like I'd write a to-do list, and I've always been very high functioning, and very efficient. And I was working at the time, I was teaching 6th grade math. And it had been summer break. So I was getting ready to go back in with the kids. And I mean, I couldn't lesson plan. Like it was taking me 12 hours to do a lesson. And it was crazy, Ben, because like my ability to like look outside of myself and go, wait, Danielle, that's not normal. It was gone. Like, cause my brain was injured. So I was just like, oh, I'm tired. I'm going to take a nap, and I'd sleep for 6 hours. Then I'd get up, I'd try again. Anyway, long story short, when kids got there, it was very clear I couldn't handle being in the classroom, and really I couldn't manage my own life, and lost my job and ended up moving back in with my parents to just focus on trying to get me healthy.
And so since then, obviously you've had a remarkable recovery, but you've taken that trauma and that incident and you've turned it into purpose.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about
fire
that?
got lit in me. I will. And it's a bit of a journey. It didn't happen like that. I'll tell you that much. So the first year, in all honesty, I was miserable. I mean, I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety. I was having panic attacks because I didn't know what the next hour of my life was going to entail, because I didn't know what I was going to be able to handle, and let alone what my future looked like. And I was 23 years old. Like I didn't have a plan B. You know what I mean? Like, I was just getting out in the world. And I didn't know how I was going to start earning again. And like the identity I had of myself, like who I thought I was Danielle, the one who can do well in school, the one who snowboards, the one who performs well in the classroom, like the person who has a servant heart. That's who I was. But all of that required me to be able to show up in the world, and I couldn't. And so it's like I was having an identity crisis. I mean, I was just like, well, who am I? And what's the purpose of all of this? And it got deep and it got dark, and I was alone. I mean, my parents were there, but I couldn't really be with people. It was too overwhelming. So, I went through a lot, and my 1-year appointment with my neurologist was kind of the switch that flipped things, because he said to me, Danielle, with your type of injury, your body's done all the healing it's going to do. And he said to me, this is your new normal. You need to adjust your life around your symptoms, and you need to move on. And I was 24, and I thought to myself, you're fired. Like, there's no way it's going to be my life. And I didn't have an answer. It wasn't like I was like, oh, well, I could go do this instead. But just something within me said, no, you're gonna get through this. You're gonna get over it. And I started to I had to shift my perspective, because I realized, the physical stuff I couldn't fix, at least not yet. I didn't know how. But the emotional things I could. And I thought, you know what, Danielle, you're the only one that can control how you're seeing this, and seeing yourself as a victim. It's not helping the situation at all, because the power is being put, outside. And so I thought, all right, this is how I look at things, Bindi. I'm like, okay, there's the external world plus your internal response to it. That equals your reality. And I thought to myself, all right, well, I have been frustrated, angry, all these things. That's been my internal response. And my reality has been miserable. So I thought, all right, let's change the response. Let's see what I can do now, right? What can I be grateful for? What are the things I'm trying to grasp desperately to this old life? That life is gone. So what can the new life look like? And I started a gratitude journal. It's one of these things I think so many people talk about and we hear, but I'm like, have you guys actually ever done it? Because it changed my world.
Yeah.
It allowed me to just look at everything so different, and to start to see the things that I was capable of doing. I could spend time in a dark room talking to my grandparents. They didn't mind. And the wisdom I gained from those conversations, it's incredible. Decades of their life experience coming into my world. And I started with a therapist, and I started going to group therapy, and I started doing all of these things that were, different than how my past had been, but were bringing joy into my life. And I started to meditate. That was something, Yoga Nidra. It's a very specific type of meditation. My mom was actually a trainer for it. And she said, Danielle, you have to just lay down in a dark room to do this. And I said, oh, I can do that. And so the first time I did Yoga Nidra, Bindi, my brain, it was like it finally switched off, I would say. And I was able to sleep. I went into a very deep sleep, and I asked my mom to record it because it was just like a 30-minute guided, meditation. And I would use it strategically throughout the day to stop my migraines from getting full blown. And unbeknownst to me, like I was using it to try and help like my physical issues. Unbeknownst to me, with meditation, like it was rewiring my brain, and it was allowing for this sense of peace and calm to exist in me always. It was like the anxiety, the depression, the panic attacks, like they just like melted away. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just like all of a sudden it wasn't a thing anymore. And I tapped into something that only now, like looking back, right, I can see it, but I tapped into the law of vibration, which, a lot of people talk about the law of attraction, but really it's a secondary law. The primary is the law of vibration. And it says, the level that you're vibrating is what you'll attract in at. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, because a lot of us are unconscious of this until we become conscious of it. Like we're unintentionally bringing in a lot of the stuff we don't like because, as I was in fear and anger and anxiety, I was bringing in more things to be fearful, angry, and have anxiety about because that's just where I was vibrating. Now I pulled myself out of it because I had this internal shift. And I started to operate in this space of gratitude, of joy, of love, of happiness. And because of that, I pulled in the answer to my physical issue. And it's like, the universe is incredible, and I'm like, okay, so we go through these challenges, right? And I'll talk about what the answer was in a minute, but it's just, if people could understand, if I could give anything to anyone, it is like from what I've learned on my journey to help you on yours, it is that the obstacle and the challenge in front of you is simply there to teach you something that's within you that you haven't realized yet, something that maybe you need to let go and something that you need to pull out, and to realize the control you have within to create the world literally from the inside out. Like my world got designed from an internal switch, and it changed my external world. And once you know that and you realize you have the power within, game over, game started, or whatever, next level, like whatever the word is for that, it just opens things up. And so that's what got me to the point where I then came across the technology that allowed my body to heal. And I'm happy to talk about that, but I know I just gave you a whole lot.
There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But, as you were talking, I was thinking, God, I hope you're going to write a book.
I wrote an ebook. I literally just released it like a month ago, and it's my first step towards a bigger book. But biting off like a whole big book was like, oh, that's a lot to chew.
Yeah. No, like just your story to tell and the lessons learned from it, I think could be so valuable to so many people. And thank you for getting out there and doing podcasts like this and sharing the story, because there's just so many things that came out of what you just said. So, we have within us everything we need. It's just that sometimes there's got to be a catalyst that switch on for you. And sometimes it doesn't have to happen like that, but a lot of the times there's some kind of incident, catalyst moment that is like your reboot moment, and I told my story years ago where, all these things happened to me, and I was like, why am I telling people all the things that went wrong? And it was like, it's not about, what went wrong. It's about getting back up again. It's learning from the fall. So, I liken it to a trampoline. You can't get up if you don't fall down.
Right.
So that's the big lesson that I always share, is that, things will go wrong, and it's this world of contrast that you can't have one without the other,
Yeah.
It's the light and the dark.
True.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of this shines through for you. But you've kind of gone next level. And also, that vibration of what you put out, you attract, is so true. Because when you're in that spiral of pain and depression and sadness and, I want my whole life back and all of this kind of stuff, you're stuck in that vibration and you just get more shit, basically.
Exactly.
But when you can pull yourself...
Like, when will you learn?
Yes. But if you can pull yourself out of that, it's amazing what comes into your life, and the universe goes, you're right where you're meant to be. Now here's this. And, the gratitude journal, like I was just telling a friend last night that I was going through my journal that I've been writing for years, and I hadn't written for months, and I was like, I'm going to start this back up again. And I actually went back and I looked at the beginning of the year and all the things I wanted to achieve and all the things I wanted to do. I've already done them all now, and I've already ticked all those things off, and I've gone, well, look at that. And it's where your intention goes, where your energy flows.
Yes.
Yep.
It's
exactly the same for you.
Yeah, it is. And it's just incredible. Something else to just share and highlight. So the book I wrote is called Mind Control. It's all in your head. And I'd say free download for everybody listening. We'll put the link so you guys can find it. But within it, like this law of vibration, sometimes there's things keeping us at a lower vibration that we don't consciously realize. Mm-hmm. And in the book, I talk about that, how because I was kind of pulled to the sidelines of life and I was observing everyone, it was like all of a sudden my perspective just changed. It was like I was watching people this on their patterned behavior, and I'm watching them like it's almost like watching a train about to crash. Like I could see this person's coming in charged with this one with this. They're going to meet and it's going to blow up. And it has nothing to do with that situation. It's like all this stuff from their past or just their way of thinking or having this, self-worth issue or fear of abandonment or whatever. Like we've all got stuff. And what I started to realize was that what was unfolding in life that was triggering these things. And, when we're unconscious about this, we think, oh, the person did it. Like, well, Bindi made me mad. No, whatever you did was what you did. I had a reaction that made me feel a certain way that got me angry. The question is why? And that's the work. Like the trigger is the teacher, and you're supposed to go internal and go, well, what is lingering within me that's making me be angry in a situation? Like everything's unfolding for my greatest good. I shouldn't be angry about anything, And when you can, like, I study a lot of yogic philosophy, and that's like what they call the karmic seeds that kind of get buried. And until the right weather pattern comes through, you don't even know they're in there. But they're holding you down, they're holding you back. And so I look at it as like our soul's evolution, the journey of our lifetime, of why we're here, is to help figure out what are those seeds that are holding us back, and to just take them out and get rid of them, recognize them for what they are, thank them for how they served us in whatever way in the past when we needed it, but get rid of it, because that's what's going to allow you to shift your vibrational state. And I think, some people, they understand this law of attraction, they get frustrated. Why isn't it happening for me? And I'm like, well, because you got some inner work to do. Like, there's some things that are lingering here that we got to figure out. And that's what my book really dives into. And so I hope that it is something that can help somebody on their path and help them maybe shift their perspective about the challenge or the obstacle that they're hitting, because it's really like, that's the opportunity. It's not the thing to shy away from. It's like, oh, there's something within this, And if a door is closing that you want open, you're going to butt your head until you realize life's trying to show you there's another door and you're supposed to be going through that one. But until you just like realize that, it can be super uncomfortable. And I'm speaking from experience, because I was like clawing to get back to the life that I used to have. But now looking back, it's like, I'm so grateful for the way that things unfolded, because it's put me in a position to understand myself on a different level, but also to like literally thousands of people I've gotten to touch to help with their health and, and their mindset.
And it kind of reminds me of, I'm a Ho'oponopono practitioner, and it reminds me of the teaching where they say wherever, whenever anything happens to you, good or bad, the common denominator is you're always there. You create your world. So really, everything that happens to you, you've created it. Your reactions, everything. It's not someone else. They didn't do it to you.
Yep.
You created it. So it's all that same thing. And the other thing that you've also highlighted for me is the connection with self. You know, there's so many of us. I've just come back from LA and I'm like, there's so many people living, but they're not living in their life. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not in it. And it's they're not connected with themselves. So, you know, what you've been able to do is understand what your body is feeling, connect with it, and actually listen to it. There's so many people who can't do that. They just can't. They can't switch off enough to even meditate. So being able to connect with yourself and listen to yourself, that is a huge thing.
It is. You know, the yogis spent their lifetime like asking this question. If there was one truth that, if known, solved everything, what would that truth be? And this is what they contemplated. And here's what they came up with. That if you realize that you are more than your thoughts, it will set you free. It will solve everything. And this is something that they then designed yoga nidra, meditation around as a tool to help you access the fact that you are more than your thoughts. And it takes you into that space of your true self where you're really connected in your heart, with your body, and beyond to the infinite. And I just think it's amazing, you know, when you have that knowledge, like they, I could paint a picture for everybody, and you too, Bindi, like I'll never get out of my head. My teacher was showing me just like waves. Okay. And she said, you know, you are an expression of the ocean as a wave. And we get up into this world of form and we forget our true essence. We forget where we come from. We get so distracted about everything that's out here that we forget what's within. And meditation and yoga nidra drops you back into the ocean. And you realize, oh, that's my true self. And then you can bring that knowledge and awareness back up with you into the world of form. And it's not going to like, you're going to be so solid and rooted, like whatever unfolds in life, you're like, I got this because I know who I am. And that realization is everything. It's actually, well, you're going to be one of the first to know this. So I'm starting a podcast called The Single Truth, because I feel like this, if people can unlock this and then understand, well, how that then plays into their relationships, the challenges they have, the awareness of themselves, all these things, it's like, those are the conversations I want to have, because I'm like, I got set free with this knowledge and I want everyone to feel this freedom.
Yeah, it's amazing. So can you tell us how you help others now?
Yeah. So going back to my story. So when I switched my vibration, right, we get a phone call from an acupuncturist. She had known my mom. She was actually a yoga nidra student of my mom's. And she called her and said, listen, I've come across a breakthrough. It's something I'm using in my practice, and it is helping the cells to find damage. So it's helping each cell in the body to repair. And she said it's the communication system, the molecules that the body uses. It's just that as we've gotten older, the body makes less. Or in a case like Danielle's, she has so much damage. It's as if she has like 1 bar of service on her cell phone. Like the call's not getting out. The signal's not strong enough. And she said, you know, this is helping clients of mine with digestive issues, with hormone modulation, with stuff with their lungs, their kidney, their liver, their skin. She said, I have every reason to believe it would pass the blood-brain barrier and help Danielle. And so I wish that I had said yes immediately, but the biologist in me, that's what my degree is in, got a little bit in the way. And I was like, show me some science here. Like, what are you talking about? And it was too new. Okay, this is a huge area of science now that's opened up over the last 20 years or so, but it was very new at the time. And long story short, I refused to use it at the beginning, but both my parents did, and they had results. And I thought it was a placebo, but then it was like, nah, you can't really explain it in that way. And I thought, I've got nothing to lose here. Let me try it myself. I started drinking it. It's a liquid that you drink. They're called redox signaling molecules. And you swish them in your mouth, you swallow them. That's it. And I drank 8 ounces a day. And nothing happened. The 3rd month, that pounding that had been relentless in my head for 2 years at this point stopped. And it has never come back. My ability to concentrate came back. My energy came back. I wasn't having to nap. Now, it's still sensitive to noise and light. It wasn't like, woohoo, I'm like healed. But I was having progress that I was told I would never have. As I've stayed on it, no sensitivities anymore. I mean, I've got like a light shining in my face now. Like I am fine.
Wow.
And when I started to get my health back and I started to be able to think about, well, what do I want my future to look like? And what do I want to do? I just realized like, okay, I know for a fact tomorrow's not guaranteed. So that means whatever I do today needs to be big. It needs to be important. It needs to be fulfilling me and also doing what I can to help humanity. Because if people knew what I knew, their lives would be full of happiness, quite frankly, and not to mention with their health, So this fire got in me, Bindi, and I said, okay, turns out the company is through word of mouth. So you can like align with the company and help share it. And I thought, okay, I don't know anything about business, but I'm going to do that. And the world was trying to talk me out of it. My friends were telling me I was crazy. My sister they were saying, Danielle, get a real job, like go back to life. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, guys, you don't know what I know. And the world needs to know that this breakthrough exists and that it can help them, because the scientist in me like started to wrap my head around what it was. And I said, oh my God, this can go in and help any plant, animal, or human being identify where they're damaged and repair. Do you understand the implications of that? And I have spent the last 7 years now educating people about it. There's not a health challenge I haven't seen it touch. I have witnessed the most incredible things, as well as on the other end of the spectrum, I've gotten to work with Olympic athletes that are like taking, their workouts to the next level and they're repairing faster after. And it's like, some days I just I'm like, how did I get here? You look back at how all the dots connect and you're like, whoa. But that's what I do. That's how I serve. It's how I help. So I educate people about this technology, and then some people get lit up like I did, and they say, look, I want to lift and change humanity. I want to be a force for good in the world. I want to bring this, to the masses as well. And so I coach and train them. And most everything I do is all around also the mindsets that you and I just talked about today, of helping people like I use the Redox as a vehicle to help people tap into the potential of their body to heal. But I also always am talking to people about their mind, because I also believe that sickness, we draw it in. I do believe that it's our thoughts, it's our patterns, it's maybe our higher self drawing in an issue like my car accident was, because we're supposed to be learning something. And so I intertwine, you get it all when you get me.
Oh my gosh, Danielle, sign me up. Where do we get this stuff?
I know. I always tell everybody, like, if you're interested, my website, it's danielle.timacia.com. There's a little button that says contact me. Like, shoot me your phone number and email and I can talk with people. And Bindi, of course, you and I can talk. But yeah, it's remarkable. And I'll tell you the other cool thing that, I didn't know getting into it is like talking about vibration again, like the energy and vibration that this company holds. Okay. Because the redox signaling technology back in 2008 was going to be bought by a pharmaceutical company. And that pharma company made it clear once they got to negotiations, the beta test group would need to be off of it. Production would need to shut down as soon as they signed. And the gentleman that owned the patents said, I think that's a little harsh. There's people on this that I can't look them in their eyes and tell them they can't have it anymore. And the company said, it's not on you. And he said, no, it is on me. And he walked away. Multi-million-dollar deal, walks away. And he spent a year trying to figure out, how do you get something like this to market that requires education? It requires someone explaining, look, how does the body make this? Because the body sources it from saline. It takes the hydrogen and oxygen from water and the sodium and chloride from salt. And it makes a bunch of different combinations of those four atoms, different 2 to 4, atom big molecules. That's what it's making. He said, people aren't going to buy that off the shelf. Like, they don't know what that is. So he chose word of mouth, and he founded ASEA as a word of mouth company. And I just think the energy and integrity and the vibration that he was holding when he did that, where he said, it's not about me, it's not about my ego, it's not about the economics, it's about people, it's about purpose, it's about humanity. That has drawn in the most incredible people. Like, I have friends over there near you in Australia that I know through this that are just beautiful beings that got attracted to this for the same reasons I did. Like, they saw it as a vehicle to help so many others. And so my network of people that I now know, unbelievable. Like, I'm like, wow, and I'm 34 now. Like, what's going to continue to open up for me in the decades to come? Like, I just have no idea, but I just look at this and I'm like, there's just an incredible group of people from Italy, from the UK, from New Zealand, from Singapore, like all these people that I call friends. And most of the time I see them just on Zoom calls, but they're making huge changes in their own community. And together, like, I can see the impact we're making on humanity and on, it's like one family at a time. To me, like, that's how you got to do it. It's grassroots.
Incredible. Oh my gosh. Danielle, I reckon I could talk to you all day about this. It's got me fired up, can I just say? It's got me fired up. But look, if people want to get in touch with you and find out more, where can they go?
Yeah, I'd say definitely come on social media. Instagram, Danielle Matthews is my handle. It's just an underscore at either end because apparently there's other Danielle Matthewses out there.
How rude.
Unbelievable. And I've got a link there. You can get my ebook there as well. If you want to learn more about the redox, you can. But the danielle.tmacia.com, if you want to click contact me, that's a fast way to get me too, in case you're not, on social media.
Jump on it, guys. Now, I've got the last big question for you, Danielle. What's the change you'd like to see in the world and how can we bring it to life?
I want to see everyone hitting their inner potential. Like, that is what I want to see. I think when each individual person is reaching their potential, that changes the dynamics in their family, in their community, it ripples out from there. And that's how we do it. It has to start with the individual person. There's no other way to make the change. It all begins with us. Yeah.
There was a reason you and I were meant to meet, obviously.
I know. I'm loving it.
I can't thank you enough for being a part of the Ethical Evolution. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Oh, thank you, Bindi.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wannabet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wannabet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast.
Are you passionate about saving the planet for future generations? Do you want to learn how to do it? If yes, then you need to tune in to the Nature Backed podcast. It's a talk show covering the changing world around us, from renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, to ESG and social innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to discover how you can join the movement and make a difference. Subscribe to the Nature Backed podcast today on your favorite platform and get ready to be amazed.
Electricast.